What is up, everybody? It's Brandon coming at you live from Smith's Grove, and today I'm taking a brief step out of the horror element just to do a couple quick little movie reviews. I just recently watched them, and one of them is Super Mario Bros. The movie. And no, not the crazy bad, but still somewhat likable movie from 30 years ago. No, the new and improved Super Mario Bros., animated and all, and rightfully so. Now, I know I'm a little late to the Mario party, pun intended, but with the main focus of my channel right now being old horror franchises, these newer movies are just going to take a back seat for a little while. I will sprinkle a few in here and there like I'm doing right now. You never know what the future might bring either. That being said, if y'all ever want me to cover anything, or you want to get my opinions on anything, just let me know in the comments or whatever. It's cool and I'll look into it, no big deal. Now, once I'm finished with some of these bigger franchises, then eventually I'll move into some newer movies. So to start it off, there hasn't been a lot out in a while, but this is one of the very few that I've actually been looking forward to. And I absolutely love Mario. I've been playing these games all my life, much like most of you probably have as well. I remember playing the first three on the NES at my cousin's house, and then when I was really young, in the early mid-90s, I got my very first Super Nintendo for Christmas alongside Super Mario Brothers, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that the first Power Rangers game too. That was pretty kick-ass. But since I was little, been a huge Nintendo and a huge Mario fan. I put hours and hours and hours into this franchise, and I put a lot of them just into Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. And then later, Mario 64 come along, and I put hours and hours into that. I think the only other games on the planet that I have as much hours into as a Mario game is probably GoldenEye 007, Pokemon Red and Yellow, and some of those old kick-ass WWF games or WWE games. And most are probably aware of this or feel very similar, but in case you're not or you don't, growing up in the 80s and 90s, Mario was like king, man. It was like top of its class, right? Wasn't much bigger or well known in that community. I liken him to Hulk Hogan, basically. He's like the Hulk Hogan of video games. Even if you didn't know much about video games, even if you didn't know much about wrestling, you knew who Mario was and you knew who Hulk Hogan was. So with that being said, imagine how most of us felt in 1993 when the first Super Mario Bros. Came out. But thankfully, Universal and Illumination Studios have set out to rectify that. Unfortunately, it just took them 30 years to do so. I also want to mention that this does have some spoilers, so if you're anything like me and you're way behind on shit, you've been warned. So start off with the plot. While the plot isn't really anything to ring home about, and I mean, let's be honest, most people don't love or play Mario for its plot, it still shows that while it's been done like a million times before, it still works in its own charming way. So Mario and Luigi has just started a plumbing business in Brooklyn, and things aren't really off to a good start. After they try to fix a water main underground, they end up getting sucked into a warp pipe and they're separated, where Luigi lands in the Darklands and Mario winds up in Mushroom Kingdom. Mario stumbles upon Toad pretty quickly and eventually is taken to Peach, who he teams up with to save Luigi and defeat Bowser. Bowser is up to his usual shenanigans as well here, looking to take over as the ruler of Mushroom Kingdom with Peach as his bride. Mario also meets a slew of characters including Cranky and Donkey Kong along the way, and he has to convince them to join this fight against Bowser. So pretty much overall same old, but honestly it works just like it always does, and it's a good way to kick off this series if you wanted to make more movies. And they're obviously setting up for more with that Yoshi teaser at the end, as well as the appearance in this movie of Lumily from the Mario Galaxy games, who's hilariously nihilistic, by the way. So I want to talk about some positives real quick. First up is the animation. This is very, very absolute top-notch animations, very stunning to me. From the bright and colorful imagery all the way down to the character animation, and they're all top-notch. Tons of detail seem to go into this. Like even the little things like Mario running up the stairs to Princess Peach's castle it's like the same running animation that Mario has in the games. It's just, like I said, it's very, very detailed. Secondly is Easter eggs and references. I've seen some of the bigger reviewers trash some of the 80s music in this movie, and like it didn't really fit, I guess. Well, it isn't overwhelming by any means, and to be honest with you, I think it fits just fine. I think it works fine. It's not just all Mario music all the time, so it's nice. But you also got to remember, Mario came out in the 80s, so they're, a little fan service, if done right, it's not a bad thing, and it wasn't overly done here, I didn't think. I mean, you're really just recognizing your target audience and you're catering to them a little bit and made a movie for them, and to me, that's what it's about. I mean, at least you're making a movie for your audience and you recognize your audience. Unlike some other movies out there right now, Barbie. And there's no shortage of other references from other games either. Like you have all the kart racing stuff and Rainbow Road, and even during Mario's fight with Donkey Kong, he gets the cat suit power up, and it's actually one of my favorite scenes. It's hilarious. It had me and my girlfriend Chelsea actually both rolling because after he beats Donkey Kong, he sits there and he looks up and he's kneading on Donkey Kong as he's passed out. Just like I said, little details like that, and just little like this stuff you catch if you're paying attention. You catch as it happens really quick. Like, I really appreciated that. Another positive, casting. Casting for this movie was spectacular. Jack Black as Bowser is the single greatest casting choice of this movie, 100%. And at this point now, I can't imagine anybody else playing this role better. And I also love Charlie Day in like everything, so like him as Luigi's no different. Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach was pretty good. You can't go wrong with Keegan-Michael Key. He was Toad. I thought that was good. And I believe Fred Armisen was Cranky Kong. I'm not a big Seth Rogen fan. I'm really just not. But he did okay here. Like him as Donkey Kong, he's all right, and there's nothing really more to say. Chris Pratt as Mario. I'm one of those that just don't quite understand the hate that he was getting. I thought it worked really well. He's a really likable guy, and I think that the role of blue-collar hero fits him well, and that's kind of what this is, right? Personally, I wouldn't have minded if Charles Martinet would have got the role of Mario here, but at the same time, I do wonder if it would have grown tiresome had Mario's voice from the games been like that the entire movie. Him talking normal most of the time, and then getting like sprinkle a little catchphrase in the old Mario way every now and then, I think was the proper way to go. Charles Martinet's voice lends itself to the games really well because it's a game, for one, and the dialogues, there's not a lot of dialogue. It's not a lot going on. But in a full like feature-length movie with a lot of dialogue, yeah, I think it was better to do it this way. Lastly, for the positives, I'm going with the score on this. Not only was the soundtrack good with the 80s music and Jack Black's song Peaches, I thought that was hilarious. All your favorite Mario themes are there. They did a really good job updating them and then even placing them, incorporating them in the movie at the right moments. And it was great. Okay, so for the negatives, not really much on the negative side for me. I had so much fun with this. That's why I chose it for last, because there's really only like 2 issues that I really had, and they weren't even really that big. First thing was I didn't really like that Luigi was the one that needed rescuing. I know that it would have made the plot even more tiresome and unoriginal for some if we saw Peach being the one abducted here. But the movie is called Super Mario Brothers, and it's the first one. So I thought Charlie Day and Chris Pratt were really good together. I thought they had that great chemistry. So it would have been nice to have seen a lot more with them. Maybe no one was kidnapped, right? I mean, that could have been the better way to go. Just where they showed up, they helped Peach beat Bowser, and they actually had that dynamic together. I thought that would have been great. My second and last thing was probably the lack of platforming. The Mario training was a really nice touch, and we got some platforming there. And him and Donkey Kong had a great scene at the end. It was like more 3D landish platforming, and I thought that was really cool. I just would have liked to seen a little bit more done, I think. It's like I said, it's a really small negative. It's not that big of a deal. I still think it was overall really good. Action-packed. Obviously, the carts were a nice touch, and the comedy was great as well. I mean, we were laughing the whole way through. You know, especially when you paid attention, like the little bitty minute things. You know, like him kneading on him is just really, really funny. And another thing, thankfully too, for me is even though Peach was a stronger character in this, and that's fine. They cucked my boy Luigi just a little bit, but it was not overall. It was not woke or any of that crap at all. Like, it was just a good, fun movie. Like, they didn't try to shoehorn any kind of political stance or anything nonsense-wise into a family or kids movie or whatever, and that right there, like, is a big win for me in this day and age with anything I watch, because it's just getting to the point now where it's so tiresome. So anyway, it's time for my scoring portion of the review, and I can't help but rate it pretty high. I mean, it's one of the funnest films I've watched of the year so far. It looks amazing, it sounds amazing, it was funny, and overall it had like a great energy to it, and I can't wait to see what they do for the future. Like, we can only hope that this leads to more like Smash Brothers or Zelda or something like that. It'd be really, really awesome. I'm looking forward to this. Obviously, there's probably going to be another one with like the Yoshi tease at the end. I'm giving Mario a 4.5 out of 5. It might seem like a super strong rating for some, but man, this is really, really fun. I had a lot of fun with this, and you can't go wrong with it. I recommend it. But you know what? I'm a simple guy. You know, if it entertains me, I hit the like button. And if you like this review, be sure to do the same. Maybe even subscribe while you're at it. I've got a lot of good stuff coming down the pike. Now, before I wrap up, I did mention another review at the beginning of this one, and that second one is going to be The Flash. Yeah, going to be doing that one next. It's going to be interesting. And also be on the lookout. I'm going to have Halloween 2018 and a Twister review coming out very soon in the Halloween style of things, and I think that'll be really cool. So yeah, anyway, that's going to do it for me, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more reviews, and until next time, try and stay sane.